You are listening to Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.
Welcome back. Another new episode of the Digging In Podcast with Rooted Wealth Advisors. Your host, John Savarino. We have a familiar guest, Roan Cannon. As you all got to know him previously, in today's episode, really want to dig in something less financially related, but I think coincides with it. Health, fitness, nutrition, one of your specialties outside of being the client relationship manager here at Rooted Wealth Advisors. So Roan, first and foremost, if you haven't gotten to know Roan, you have no idea what we're talking about, go back to the other episode, Getting to Know Roan Cannon, and you'll know more of what we're talking about here. But Roan, back to what you do outside of Rooted Wealth Advisors as a personal trainer, was actually kind of your first job, if I'm not mistaken.
This is number two.
This is number two. So what carried that interest, right? What piqued it? What started it?
So it all started with my mom. She's been into fitness, nutrition, lifting for the past 10 years. I've seen her make some pretty crazy transformations, whether it be up or down and up and back down again. But she's always been on it. We've always had, if you would have seen my fridge as a kid, that's probably one of the biggest blessings was constantly food prepped. There was any type of meat you can imagine, turkey burgers, taco meat, anything you wanted, fruits, vegetables already in the fridge.
No way.
Every single week. And I'm lucky enough that my fiance does the exact same thing now. She's an amazing cook. So that's pretty cool. But it started with her when I was younger. I did wrestling for a few years. I wasn't that good at it. I mostly eventually turned into theater and stuff like that later on. But she would bring me along to the gym. I got to know the owner of a local gym, Mike Newman, pretty well. And by the time I was about 14, I was like, you know what? I'm tired of not being athletic at all. I was the total opposite. I was severely undersized. I was 4'10" and however many pounds it takes to be chubby at 4'10". You know what I'm saying? So it was just really, you seeing all my peers sprout up. I was like, I got to do something. I have to compensate in some way. I got to get stronger. So it all started in my bedroom, as most kids do when they're trying to lift, of push-ups and dumbbells and curls. And, surprisingly, I stuck with it every single night for 4 months. My parents noticed and they were like, okay, let's get him a weight set. So they got me a bench, some bands, more dumbbells, more weights. And I ended up sticking with that. I worked out every single day straight for 8 months in the garage. Rain or shine, Thanksgiving, Christmas, it was my favorite thing to do. I would have my music on my phone blasting out there and just working out. And I ended up losing all of that body fat. It helped that I definitely grew a lot at that time, whatever. But basically, I then was like, well, I think I'm ready for the gym. This is great, but I'm getting honestly too strong for this at-home equipment. It was limited with the weights, and I'm going to go to the gym. And let me tell you, it's one of those things looking back of, wow, was I way too confident when I first got to the gym. The pictures I would take in the mirror, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you really thought you were it.
We're going to get a copy of those.
Yeah, we will. And I wasn't it, but it was definitely about, building that up. And essentially just fell in love with that. Later on that year, I talked to the owner of the gym and he was like, you know what? I'm looking for a young guy to start working as a free trainer, right? So one of the cool things about this gym is anybody that needs training can get a very basic level for free. Kind of shows you the ropes of the gym and explains some nutrition aspects. I was like, absolutely. So I ended up doing that for 2 years, just the free training. I probably trained 500 plus people. And that was the foundation of everything. I was obsessed with fitness at work. I'd have an AirPod in and just hours and hours of podcasts, sometimes books, anything that I could to just engulf nutrition and fitness knowledge. So I then was like, okay, I am getting out of high school at this point. I wanted to, make some more money, honestly, and personal training is kind of the step up from that free training. And I wanted some experience in advertising, sales, the whole spiel. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna try it. So I started posting on Facebook, and I had connections at the gym that I'd made with people and built my clientele pretty quick. And I would say I'm very blessed how quickly I built it. I had, I believe 40 people in like 8 months, which if you've ever tried personal training, you might know it might take you a year to get 10 people. So it was a constant grind and just getting people and reaching out. I was, funnily enough, I love fitness. I was obsessed with it. But at the time when you're a kid, you're like, oh, make more money, make more money. And then I kind of fell in love with, oh, wow, I'm actually helping people. This is pretty cool. So doing both of those things together, they piggyback off each other, and just loving what I do, because I got to see some pretty cool transformations. I will say you also learn that honestly food and that is an addiction. And it's like, it's really hard, and it's almost heartbreaking as a trainer, because I tell my clients, I say, there's one thing I can guarantee is that you're going to get stronger, because I control the weight you do. I control the exercise you do. When you walk out that door, I can give you your macros, I can give you your calories, but I can't force you to eat that. I'm like, you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? So seeing that over and over again is unfortunate, but there was definitely a few success stories that I'm pretty happy about. So yeah, that was the path to personal training.
That's pretty cool, man. Especially knowing it stemmed from at home,
Yes.
through your mom and through your family. Yeah, I mean, that's super cool. So for our viewers that are watching, this conversation actually kind of stemmed from a text message that I had sent you last week. And, one of the things that I struggle with is my nutrition, and not bragging, right? It's not necessarily an accountability thing. I'm a fairly picky eater, and I just get bored of eating the same thing over and over and over. And I'm trying to, I need help, right? In terms of just being a little bit more creative, thinking ahead in terms of setting a plan, because it might not just be the accountability factor or the creativity factor. It's just, you get to a point where you open the fridge, there's nothing in the fridge, and that's where some of the bad things start to come into play.
Temptations.
So I needed personal training, obviously, but I was wondering, more on the nutrition side. So ultimately I thought, what better time to talk about what you do than, as an episode, because I think before we even get into that, one of my questions, as you have the experience under your belt, how does that start to translate, to mental health, your personal life? I mean, is there a correlation there that you can speak?
Absolutely. It's one of the most correlating things ever. There are dozens of studies that show people with clinically diagnosed depression simply eating better and working out, not necessarily cures it, but almost every single case, it's lifting up your mood. It's getting you more inspired. It's getting you moving, because when you feel better, when you feel better in a physical feeling sense, you feel better mentally, right? It is surprising the correlation between what you are ingesting and your hormones. I mean, that's a huge thing, that it's like you have no idea what's going on inside your body when you are ingesting these processed foods, and I eat them all the time. So I am no better. I can eat a Domino's pizza by myself without blinking an eye, and that's my young metabolism speaking. But I found a real fascination with looking at America as a whole, and honestly, just the corporations that kind of control it. A lot of the as you would call it, big pharma, right? Like CVS, Walgreens, a lot of those guys not only have their hands in some of the biggest food companies in the world, Frito-Lay, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, but they also have hands in the USGA, where they're actually regulating school lunches and they're putting their own products in there, right? I get it. It's a world where you want to make money, but it is crazy of like, wow, there are so many things nowadays that are just so focused on making money, get more people to eat more, making it there is millions and millions, probably billions of dollars a year going into research specifically on how to make food more addictive. That's just how it is, because it benefits them. That's a huge reason for me to be inspired. But anyway, I went on a tangent there.
Take the tinfoil hat off. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Back to what you were saying.
Just kidding.
There is a massive correlation. And if you ask any of my people, the biggest thing I try and do, my approach is always sustainability, right? You can go in, you can change your macros, you can limit your calories, but 9 times out of 10, doing that off the gate is going to be too much. And it's not saying you have a weak will or anything like that. It's just how the body works. It goes through withdrawals of sugar and fats and all that kind of stuff. So I go very simple. First, I say, up the protein. Number one, you're going to be fuller. You'll be satiated. It takes the longest to digest of any of the macronutrients. So it's going to take more time. Eat more protein. You will feel more full. Don't be afraid of the carbs. That's your energy source, right? You don't want the refined carbs from the factories, but okay, again, like I'm saying, it's hard to avoid. So do it the best you can. Eat your fruits and veggies, as corny as it may sound. Don't be afraid of carbs. That is the quickest way your body can metabolize energy every single time. And it's going to use that. And you're going to need it if you want to have good workouts in the gym. Also, don't be afraid of the healthy fats. That is a huge way I get people to stop overeating. If you introduce something, egg yolk, avocado, to most meals, and you give yourself 20 minutes after the meal, you will be like, wow, I'm full. Because it is a healthy fat. It has not as many calories as a donut, and it keeps you full. It satiates. That's what fat does. It satiates.
Satiates. So if someone like myself was, so you said, hey, up your protein, do this, do that. And let's just say I'm like, you know what, Rowan, these are just the things that I like. Here's what I don't like. Would you help that particular person? Like, is it possible to just start to build out, like, not even as deep as this is what you're going to eat, this, and this, but like, hey, here's some meal ideas for you. Is that possible?
Absolutely. Yeah. So
Okay.
there's a wide variety of things I would tell people in that scenario. I honestly don't get really into the meal planning side of it.
Okay.
That's more where my mom shined in that aspect. Because again, I'm not a good cook, but I can definitely tell you the foundational things, like what proteins you should be eating, what grains, what fruits, kind of focusing on building your ingredient list so that you can find those meals that you like within that.
There you go.
But that's my biggest thing. Obviously, there's some basic stuff. I get a lot of people hate oatmeal. Don't eat oatmeal. That's fine. Just get some whole wheat toast and eggs. Like, you're really not going to go wrong in that sense. But again, to what your point is, I haven't really delved into the meal planning side. But as far as macros, protein, fats, carbs, and a list of basic ingredients and meals you can kind of eat, yes, absolutely.
Love it. So for someone that's watching, if you're that's watching, and as we're talking, they're, they want to make that step. Maybe there's someone that's just not active at all, but, they need to, maybe they're just unsure of where to get started, whether it is through nutrition and exercise. Maybe they're scared. There's a lot of fear of going to the gym with people. What is is there any actionable steps that you would advise someone watching? Just say, hey, this is what I would do.
So number one, it's always going to be scarier up front. And when you dip your foot in the water, you're going to realize the biggest guys at the gym are always the nicest ones. I say this as a, broccoli-headed broccoli-headed teenager or whatever. Those are the ones you might want to look out for, is the punks that are there. And there's not that many of them. But really, the biggest, strongest, buffest guys in the gym have been there the longest. They have some of the best gym etiquette, and they're always going to help. They're always going to help. That's what they're there for. They want to help you. As far as the eating goes, you have to realize it would be more beneficial for you if let's say working out is just, it's not on the playbook right now, between work and kids and whatever. You're like, man, I just can't make it to the gym. Walks, right? Walks are huge. Just getting your step count up. And I'm not an advocate. It's actually, so that some people might look to cardio as kind of a crutch, right? I'm going to cardio and work out. I'm going to lose weight. You're going to be doing a lot. You're going to be putting in a lot of input for very little results. You could work out. You could run for an hour straight and you burn off a medium-sized Snickers bar. Like, that's really what we're looking at here. Whereas if you were just to eat one less Snickers bar, it takes no time and your body doesn't have to metabolize that food anymore.
Wow.
So I would say, and it's true, 80% of your progress is going to be made in the kitchen, which stinks because the fun part is the working out, honestly. As far as going to the gym and being afraid, take a step in there. I promise you, the people that you think are going to judge you are way more focused on themselves. They're looking at themselves in the mirror. They're not looking at you at all. They have their headphones on. Just go in. And I wouldn't even recommend starting on the treadmill, because a lot of people kind of get lost on the treadmill. They start on the treadmill, they get lost on the treadmill, and they may not feel those endorphins. They may not feel good after. That doesn't really do much. Watch some basic, that's the biggest thing. Basic YouTube videos about what's the first thing I should do when I go in, lifting, all that stuff, and keep it light, keep it simple. It takes about 28 days to build a habit. Now that's not 28 days spread out here and there. That's 28 days of consistency of doing it every day, which is the hardest part, is honestly making your brain transform to that. This is, you build your day around the gym. You don't build your gym around the day. That's what it has to be at some point. And I think once you fall into that, it's going to be a lot easier. That's the biggest thing.
You'll never regret a workout.
You won't.
That's cool. I like that. One of my favorite episodes we've ever done on Digging In. Very insightful. I think we could take this a step further on another episode. Roan, thank you for sharing a lot of very valuable information to our viewers that may be a little bit less financial or retirement related, but as we talked about, correlates to a lot of the things that we do for our clients. So, Roan, thanks so much for joining us. As always, we'll dig in soon.
This was Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.